Hello and welcome to Crossy's Corner. I'm Martin Cross, and in the corner today is Finn Hamill, who is an extraordinary kiwi, not just sculler, but I think extraordinary in every way. Hi, Finn.
Hello, pleasure to be here.
Oh, that's great. I'm so excited to talk to you. Just let us know how your day's gone today, what you've been up to.
Yeah, no, it's been good. We had a pretty tough session this morning on the water, followed by a weight session. So it's been an arvo off, which has been nice to sort of recover a little bit. But yeah, it's been good.
What do you do on your afternoons off then? Do you just like chill and
I've
sleep?
been pretty chill today. Yeah, I've lived with Gary Reid, who's the Concept 2 dealer in New Zealand for the last few years. So I've done a bit of stuff with them in the past and a bit of stuff with rowing machines and whatnot. But yeah, today was pretty chill.
Oh, that's so cool. So how has it been transitioning back from being in Europe to coming back to New Zealand? I mean, how long did that take you?
Yeah, it was a little tricky. I mean, most of the time for like the New Zealand team tours, they're usually a bit longer. So they'd stay over in Europe for a few months. Whereas this time I think it was 3 weeks for most of the team, and then a bit longer for us who went to Henley. So yeah, it was a bit challenging. I mean, it took me about a week to get over just the jet lag phase, and then it's kind of getting used to the cold of winter. But it's you're sort of back into the rhythm now.
Yeah. So I'm guessing you're preparing for the Worlds in the double.
Yes, well, that's only just recently been
Oh, has it?
confirmed. But yeah. So there's a few crews have been confirmed for Worlds, and then a few others who are yet to be confirmed.
Yeah. So it's not your first Senior World Championships, I know, because you did Belgrade back in 23, I think.
Yeah, although that's not much to look at. I wasn't in great form. I was a bit sick, and I shouldn't really have been racing in hindsight at all. I ended up withdrawing myself from the final because I was not in a good way. But yeah. So it is technically my second Worlds.
So I just looked at that and I thought, oh, he got a bad lane. It was like the crosswind, so that was why he was where he was.
Yeah, no, I was pretty screwed. Like, I could race for like 500 meters, and then my sort of body wouldn't listen to what I wanted it to do. It was, it wasn't good. I got sick after the under 23 Worlds, and then just kind of came back a little bit, but then sort of just trained myself back into the ground. So yeah, it wasn't a great time.
Well, let's explore that a bit. But I just wonder, in terms of Henley, like you know, when did Henley Regatta get on your radar in terms of something you were interested in?
I mean, it's one of the ones you always kind of look at and want to go and compete in. Originally, the whole team had meant to compete there, and then they sort of withdrew everyone, and then we managed to get ourselves back on it, sort of as a self-funded extra, and so which was really cool. And a lot of the rest of the team had done the Windermere Cup earlier in the year, and so that was sort of the
treat,
bonus for us to be able to go.
So just talk me through that. So you kind of had to persuade people or find funding so that you were able to compete at Henley.
Pretty much, yeah. We had to sort of convince Rowing New Zealand to let us go, and then like for me to do the single as well was another layer on top of that, of working things out and actually working with the regatta themselves. Matthew Pinson helped sort of organise that for me, which was really cool. But yeah, it all worked out in the end.
So talk us through your thought process. Like you're entered in the double. I don't know if you knew before you went to Europe how fast you were moving, but somebody, I like looked and saw you were doubling up and thought, oh, he's mad. It's the strongest ever diamonds field, maybe in the history of the event, and he's doubling up. And it's also, you know, the double's pretty stacked. Just talk us through your thought process.
Yeah, well, honestly, I hadn't really, I hadn't thought too much about it. Like I was actually sort of hoping that, oh, you know, maybe there won't be that many people in the single this year. We'll see. But the double was always the priority. The single was sort of more, I wanted to race it, get a bit more experience, you know, international competition. And yeah, it wasn't until I saw the draw come out and I was like, oh no, what's this? And yeah, I mean, I sort of looked at it and I was like, okay, well, I might get one race under my belt, and then, you know, I've got Simon second round, so that'll be the end of that. But yeah, yeah, a bit of a crazy ending to that.
What did Ben think of you, your doubles partner, doing the single? Was he like, yeah, sure, fine? Or
for the most part, yeah, I had, you know, obviously I approached him with it initially and sort of offered, you know, would you want to do it as well, you know, do the double up? But he was happy to just stick to the double. So yeah, I mean, it worked out, and we talked about how, you know, obviously the double's still the boat we're going there to, you know, compete, and the singles bonus. So, but the regatta, you know, organized it really well, and it ended up, you know, obviously it's still tough doing 2 races in a day, but there was a pretty good gap between them for the most part. So yeah.
Okay, so you've seen the draw. You've got, you know, Duskos, Van Dort, Tweller, Zeidler, and like, what goes through your head? Is it like, oh shit, or wow, that's great, I'll get to race these guys? Like, what's the thought process?
Yeah, probably a bit of both. I mean, like, to be in the mix with, you know, those names is pretty cool, but at the same time I was like, well, that's a bit annoying. And especially when I saw that Simon and Ollie were both on my side of the draw, I was like, yeah, but it's it is pretty cool.
Yeah, that's amazing. So just let's go back pre-Henley, because there was a couple of World Cup races that you and Ben competed in and medaled in both of them. So that's your first senior World Cup medal that you won in Varese. You were third there, is that right?
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. So talk to us about that, coming into that race.
I mean, we obviously had no idea sort of where we'd stack up with everyone. Going into it, I was like, sort of, oh man, if we could make the A final, that'd be amazing. But didn't really. I mean, obviously, you'd love to be on the podium as well, but I didn't really expect that, you know, first up. And we got through the heat and came off water, and Coach Gary said, "Oh, I think you got the fastest time coming out." We were like, "No way, that's crazy." And it turned out we were second, but very close second. But so we're like, "Shit, we could actually be in this with a shot." And, you know, obviously made the final. It was a real tight race with the Swiss and the Italians, and I mean, it was both the Italians and us were a second off, well, less than a second off winning it, and we were 0.03, I think, behind the Italians. So it was a super tight race. So I mean, I couldn't have dreamed that up beforehand. It was very cool to be, you know, on the podium, our first ever World Cup together.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Is your how similar is your race profile in the double to what we saw you racing in the single at Henley, in terms of, I guess you're a second half, third 500, last 500 crew in the double, but I'm not sure of that now, having said it.
Yeah, I think, probably similar in terms of the profile. I mean, Ben's a little bit, you know, stronger than me. I mean, that's sort of, I struggle to obviously keep up in that first bit when, you know, you compare it to Simon and Ollie in those races, and Melvin in the final. But Ben is a bit stronger, so I think he helps us get off the line a bit more. But we're still, relative to the field, probably a little bit slower in that first half of the race, and then come through in the middle towards the end, as you know, that's sort of how it's happened in both Varese and Lucerne.
Yeah, Lucerne was. I mean that was a crazy race. The whole. I don't know if you've had a chance to watch it back yet.
Yeah, it was cool to see. I actually, it's way closer than I thought it was. Like
Oh,
in the
really?
moment, it was. Yeah, I mean, coming into that last 250, as we sort of were coming through the Irish, after well, I thought we actually had gone past them way earlier than we had. And I was like, okay, well that's them gone. Now it's just the Serbians. But I mean, we were all in a line with 100 to go. So yeah, it was much closer than it felt.
Yeah, I mean, it was an amazing finish. I kind of thought the Irish were going to win, and then pretty much going into the last 300, 250, I thought, oh, where's Serbia got that sprint from? And they're going to win. And then as it came up to the line, I thought, oh shit, that's wrong, because the New Zealanders have just like.
Yeah, it was crazy. I mean, the Irish, I think they led basically the whole way. And then, yeah, awesome sprint from Serbia, and we came through there as well. But I mean, I think Ben and I both thought, holy shit, yeah, we can win this as we're coming into that last 500 and that whole sprint. But yeah, I mean, watching the race, you could see the Serbians were absolutely going for it, and I mean, so were we. I think Ben looked down at the stroke coach and saw some crazy number, and it's like, how did they get through us? But it was nuts. Yeah.
Presumably you're making the calls in the double.
Yeah, for the most part. I think Ben will chuck something in if he thinks it's required, but yeah, generally it's me on the doing most of the talking.
And how are the calls, like technical, or are they like effort-based calls, like go now, or drive with the legs, or whatever? What's the sort of mixture of calls that you make?
I think it's probably a mix of all of that, and just to keep the energy in the boat good, even if it's not saying much, but just that team sort of effort together to just keep that all in sync.
I know in the single you had little looks over your left shoulder when you were on the enclosure side. Did you look out in the double at all at Lucerne?
Yeah. I mean, I did a bit. I was pretty bad actually back in Varese. I was looking out way too much, but I did take a few looks in Lucerne, just to have a gauge of where we're at. I think we're obviously a bit closer relative to everyone at Lucerne, so it was a little bit different in Henley, where I was having to do a full swivel to kind of see where I was. But yeah, I definitely try and keep an eye on sort of what's going on.
Okay, so you get to Henley. What was your first? That's your first time racing at Henley, I guess.
Yeah, first time for both of us, which was cool.
Oh wow, for Ben too. Oh wow. So tell me what you thought. How did you balance like training in the double and training in the single when you arrived there?
Well, we actually didn't have I guess we were both pretty tired from the weekend and the travel, and so the first couple of days we actually didn't do a whole heap. But we kind of still prioritized the double mostly up until sort of racing started. So that Wednesday, Thursday, we'd just row the double, and I felt like that was okay, because I mean we were there for that, and I got that first race in the single on Thursday, which sort of blew the cobwebs out of that race, and yeah, it was it worked out fine. There was no sort of issues in terms of
who were you racing on Thursday? That race.
It was his name's Herbie. I can't remember his last name, but he was rowing for Hinksey
Sculling School. Yeah.
Which it was an epic race from him. Sort of like, I mean, I got out in front and then was able to sort of just sit there. But I mean, he kept going, attacking at me, and never sort of let me just have it, which is cool. I mean, he's only 18 or 19. and a lightweight. So yeah, he was rowing really well.
Oh wow! So how old are you? Are you 24 now?
23 this year. Yeah,
just a 23-year-old. And I know you've raced lightweight, Finn. Just talk to us about your physique. What sort of kilos are you, or and what height are you?
Yeah. So I mean, obviously, I was lightweight 2023 season. But yeah, now sort of between 80 and 83 is sort of where I've managed to kind of come up to. It's I wish it was this hard to keep weight on back then, because that would have been good. That would have been good. But yeah, and I'm quite reasonably. I think I was reasonably tall, lightweight. I'm about 6'2". But yeah.
Yeah. So that race against Herbie put you in the quarterfinal against Simon. Is that
yeah,
right?
yeah, that's right.
So like, does Gary do the race plan, or do you tell him what you're going to do, or like what was the race plan for that? I mean, what did you think before going into that contest?
Yeah, well, probably more. Maybe we'll talk about you know, what's going on and whatever. But there was never really a huge I guess plan per se. It was kind of just go out and kind of see what happens and just try hang on. And yeah, I was kind of, it ended up being quite windy and a little bit rough, which I had been saying like a month prior, like, oh, I need it to be really rough, because I reckon that's the only way I'm going to beat anyone. So I kind of got my wish, even though I wasn't feeling super confident still. But yeah, I kind of figured I was going to get dropped, and I'd have to, just keep chipping away. And yeah, it sort of unfolded exactly as I would have imagined if it was going to go my way,
Yeah. The rough water, because you're like, I know you're at home on the ocean, and we can talk about that later, and you've done you're coastal singles world champion. What is it? What sort of beliefs do you have about you and rough water then?
I feel like I can just handle a bad stroke pretty well. And I was sort of reflected a lot, like during that week of racing back, like from nationals in New Zealand, where we had pretty ugly water for the final of the single, and in that race I like handled it really well. And so was just sort of thinking, well, if I can do that, I can surely do that again here, yeah.
So against Simon, so what were you doing? Did you have like a big effort in terms of when you suddenly started to get up to him, or were you just keeping constant what you were doing? How did that sort of middle of the race go for you?
Yeah, I think I'd always planned to sort of have a go sort of through the middle, and I could see I was kept having a look, and he wasn't getting any further ahead sort of than he had taken out of me in that first chunk of the race. And so yeah, just sort of started to have a crack and could see him getting closer and closer, and then the water got pretty ugly at one point, and I sort of tried to use that to my advantage and just really kind of go for it. And that's sort of when I did go past. And so yeah, and then I think, I don't know if if the water was just too much for Simon or what, but he kind of didn't have much to respond with. So yeah, it was very hard up to that point, but then luckily he kind of got a bit of reprieve at the end.
Oh, that's really interesting. So rating, you're comfortable up at 40 or even maybe higher, or 39.40, and that in a way you put me in mind a bit of the way Joe Sullivan, the great Kiwi Olympic champion, sculled.
Yeah, Yeah, I mean, I mentioned Gary Reid earlier, and he lives over at the Hill in Tauranga, and so I've been there quite a lot. And he's got an awesome rowing facility on his property. And
Oh,
Joe actually comes out and rows there with us. There's a
oh
few people
wow.
who row out of there. So yeah, I've been fortunate enough to become quite good friends with Joe. And yeah, so I mean, there's certainly aspects, I guess, of how I race that would reflect how he does as well. I think Robbie Manson's been another person who I've kind of looked at and tried to, I guess, build things sort of around how he's rode. I mean, when he set that world record, he was rating sort of around that 40 mark too.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, there's it's not one individual sort of person or style that's developed that. I think Gary Reid had a lot of influence on sort of building the stroke and how I've been rowing for the last few years.
In what way? Like how's Gary influenced you, and what sort of concepts are you sort of sharing between you?
Yeah, I mean, well, he still rows himself, so we'll be out rowing together, and sort of has done quite a bit of coaching. Basically, well, I mean, yeah, there's a lot that we've worked on, but I guess the biggest things being probably around the catch and being able to work efficiently to be able to rate at that sort of those high rates in a race. Probably one of the biggest things, as well as the finish. I mean, it's all connected, right? So you got to work on every part of it. But yeah, he's done a lot.
Yeah. So you get off the water. You've beaten the Olympic bronze medalist, Simon van Dorp. I mean, presumably you go and have a chat afterwards. What are you talking about?
Yeah, well, sort of that wasn't supposed to happen. Yeah, I mean, it was the last race of the day. It was like at 7, I think it was at like 7:40 p.m. or something. So we chatted briefly and sort of like, how did that happen? And yeah, I guess on to the next one. I just went to grab some takeaway on the way back to the house where we were staying, and the Irish group of guys were having dinner there. So they invited me to sit down. I ended up having dinner with the Irish, all the Irish lads, and so that was quite cool. And ended up chatting with them about it. And I mean, I think they'd just beaten the Dutch in the quad that day. So we all had stories to trade there. But yeah, I mean, it was a bit of a shock. I sort of, had always gone out with the intention of I'll give it my best, but I hadn't really expected to be beaten Simon.
Yeah, of course, another guy who's got a great finish profile. I mean, I know Fintan has is Paul O'Donovan. Because you'd raced lightweight before. I mean, presumably you'd come across Paul and Fintan in your.
Yeah, well, unfortunately not. I raced them at the head of the Charles last year, but never got to race them at sort of any world rowing events. That had been the goal. The goal had been to be racing in Paris in the lightweight double with Matt Dunham. But I mean, that's a long story too. But that didn't end up happening. Unfortunately, there's a few things there. But yeah, so the first time I actually got to race them was both Fintan and Paul was in Lucerne.
Yeah, that's really interesting. I imagine that must have been a great evening. You've just beaten Simon, and then there you're having, because they're quite lively, fun guys, aren't they? Really.
Yeah, they're all very funny. It was really cool. It was nice. It was a real nice evening just to I guess get to know them a little bit better, and have a few yarns and stuff. But yeah, it was cool.
So, what advice did they give you about your next race then, racing the Olympic champion?
I guess similar to go at it how I had the day. I mean, Paul was very oh yeah, you'll be right sort of thing. But yeah, it was quite funny just what they were getting up to. But yeah, I mean, again, sort of. Well, I'll have a go, but yeah, never didn't for any moment think, oh yeah, kind of got this. But yeah, it's crazy how it all unfolded.
So I think was it Fiona Bork who she's coaching in America now. I'm talking to her about you in Lucerne, and she said he just loves to race. He just loves racing. So can you just say like what that means for you? What is it you love about racing, or why do you love racing?
I'm not sure. I mean, I guess there's just I guess an element of competition that I like. I mean, I'm always been very competitive. I mean, come from quite a sporty. My dad was also a rower, lightweight rower. My mum was into triathlon, and so we've always, I guess, well, naturally just competitive nature, I guess. But I just enjoy, yeah, going out and doing it. I'm, I guess, not the best trainer. Most people who know me would know that, but I can, always like to get up for a race.
Yeah. So you were in a race, obviously against Ollie Zeidler. Had you talked to him before, or was that the first time you kind of encountered each other on the start at Henley?
I hadn't spoken to him at Henley. I did meet him actually last year in Philadelphia. They were
you did the Gold
racing.
Cup thing.
Yeah, they were all racing the Gold Cup. I was racing at a head race there, the head of the circle.
Yeah.
And sort of, yeah, so yeah, caught up with all those that group there. But yeah, obviously that was the first time I'd actually lined up against them.
So, I mean, you've already told us what your race plan was to face Simon Van Dorp. So I guess you're like, okay, this is press repeat on this race plan.
Basically, yeah. I mean, yeah, there was not much else I could do really. I mean, yeah, I basically figured it was going to be the same deal. He's obviously much bigger. I mean, bigger and stronger. So I guess he'd use that to his advantage at the start, and yeah, I just have to kind of do the same if I was going to do anything.
I can't remember how your race in the double went earlier, but I mean, what did you do to combat fatigue after having raced the double? And how fresh did you feel for that diamond semi-final?
Yeah, I think we had a harder race in the double that day than the day before. So I was definitely feeling it, and from the single previously. So yeah, I certainly wasn't feeling amazing, but I was able to sort of go home back to the house after the double and just sort of have a little nap and rest between the racing, which definitely helped a lot in terms of freshening up a bit. So, but I think once the gun goes, you tend to forget.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we'll get to the gun in just a second. Did you have like a physio with you to give you massage, and presumably you're on the exercise? I'm imagining these things. You're on the exercise bike in between races.
Usually, yeah, they would have that for like the tour. So we had all those, the physios and stuff at the World Cups. But since it was a very small group, the only I guess staff member or whatever was Gary, the coach.
Oh wow!
So we didn't have any of that stuff at Henley, but obviously we have the. I mean, it's pretty cool setup in that tent at the boat tent with they got their rig set up and whatever. So we warm down and before heading back, and you just do what you can to, I guess, recover, a bit of stretching and whatnot.
So what's it like to line up against the Olympic champion head to head in the semi-final of the Diamonds? What's that feeling like?
A little bit nerve-wracking. Pretty cool though. I mean, looking across and obviously everyone everyone knows who he is. I would say not many would have known who I was, but maybe after beating Simon, they're, oh shoot, who's this guy?
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I was excited just because of what I'd done the day before. If I could pull that off, it was like, wow, this would be pretty special. Yeah.
So in many ways, this was a different race against Ollie to the one against Simon. Certainly in terms of how long it took you to sort of find his weakness, as it were.
Yeah, and I guess I kind of had no expectation going into the one against Simon. And sort of after winning it, I was like, oh, hang on, I actually could, get through this next one too, obviously. Because I'd, going into the racing, I'd sort of picked Simon as probably the guy to beat in the whole thing, following his World Cup performance in Varese, and then winning the Hollenbecker that past weekend. So and then so to beat him, and then I'm like, wow, okay, a little bit more pressure now. It's like but I was still in the same sort of mindset of obviously the big underdog here, so just go out and race.
We talked about the looks over your left shoulder. I mean, I think I was a bit of a looker out, and I found it was quite helpful to see what was out there, whether it was puddles or a stern or something like that. When was it you were aware of coming back on Ollie? Was it a look round? Was it seeing his puddles, or what went through your mind?
Yeah, it was a little bit trickier. I mean, Ollie put quite a bit more distance, it felt like, compared to Simon the day before. So I mean, I was having a look around, basically all the way to be able to see where he was. But again, like, he got to that sort of gap, and then it sort of stayed the same, it seemed like. So I was like, okay, well, he's not getting any further. And so it was the same deal. I just had to go and keep looking around occasionally. He's like, oh, okay, yeah, he's getting closer. It's on. And every time I have a look, it was closer and closer until we was right there.
And were you like throwing in stuff like you did against Simon, or were you just keeping the pace that you had?
I mean, I think I was just basically building. It was I mean, when I look at the replay, it looked how it felt. I mean, it was basically sprinting sort of from the K, just trying to build and build and build. Yeah.
And so you get level with it. I mean, are you just totally into process and what you're doing? Like, you're not thinking, I'm going to win this race, or I've got him now, or is that what's going through your head when you get level with him?
Maybe a little bit, and I guess still sticking to what I'm doing myself, but certainly use it as a little bit of fuel as you're going through someone. And I was definitely feeling it. It wasn't like it was easy or anything. I mean, I was very, very sore. I think I can't remember. I mean, I think it felt like he sort of came back a little bit as I was coming past, but then I sort of broke the connection we had, and was sort of able to ease off a little bit in the last like 10 strokes.
Sweet feeling at the finish.
Oh yeah, I mean, it was like, how I just couldn't believe it. It was it was pretty crazy to think I'd just beaten Ollie Zeidler.
And how did the chat between you two guys go after the race?
Oh, it was cool. He came over and sort of just congratulated me. It was pretty brief. I had a lot of family watching. My mum's British, so I have lots of cousins and aunts and uncles over there. So they all sort of came running in, and which was really nice. I was feeling terrible as all these people around started getting, in that 10 minutes following a full-on race, you just sort of keep deteriorating. But it was real special. Yeah.
Wow. So I'm going to ask you about the Sunday because your doubles race against the Australian national champions was tough in that you were down. I think.
Yeah. It was hard. I think they put about a length on us. So we had to work pretty hard to get back through them. I think that was we had raced them before and at Verazian and Lucerne, and sort of knew they were quick, and I guess had a rough idea at how they'd probably approach the race, and knew we'd have to probably come back through them. That was certainly tough, and was feeling it. It was certainly feeling it after that, and obviously having now raced two pretty hard ones in the single on top of that. So going into that second final, I wasn't feeling super amazing.
No, that's interesting. So I mean, obviously it wasn't just Ben pulling you over the line, although maybe from the outside you think, mate, that was quite good. You do the work on this one, Ben, and
I think I might have said that in an interview afterwards. It was I think after we were once I sort of realized, okay, we've probably got this. I think I may have backed off a little bit, but it was a bit close to be stopping, or easing a bit down anywhere more than 100 meters out from the finish. So it was still a full-on race.
So the final of the Diamonds, last race of the day, and what were your beliefs going into that race?
Unfortunately, I was like I wasn't feeling super up for it. I mean, I was stoked with what I'd already done, in the two races leading up to that. So I was sort of in a position where I was like, well, win or lose, I've had an awesome regatta, and I'll just go out and have a go. But I'm feeling smoked, and I think I let that get to me a little bit too much, unfortunately, and I sort of through that first K of that final anyway, I was sort of thinking, the fatigue's gonna hit me any minute now, and it never did to the point where I was expecting, which didn't set me up great, unfortunately.
Well, it's nice to know you have some human characteristics about you too.
No, it was I wasn't. I mean, Gary was sort of laughing, saying, "Oh, well, you asked for this," and because I had fought pretty hard to be able to row in both of them, and it was cool. I mean, if I had to do it again, I wouldn't change a thing, and in the future, I would
The thing was, it looked like Melvin was going to win for most of that race, and then the last, I don't know, 250 or something, it was like, oh shit, he's gaining on him. I mean,
I mean, if I was Melvin, I would have raced exactly sort of how he did. I mean, he was working. You could see when the camera was on him, he was working hard through that middle to just keep that gap. And I mean, like I said, I didn't mentally sort of back myself probably enough, and held back a little bit too much in that first K. And when I realized, I'm actually fine. It was a little bit maybe too late to do what I'd done in those previous ones. I couldn't really get on in that third 500 how I wanted to, and I had an awesome last 600, but it was just didn't get going soon enough.
Wow. So you've got your first red box for the doubles. Where have you got it?
It's actually over in Tauranga. We had a really nice sort of dinner on Saturday just gone over there with Ben and I both went over, and Gary and his partner Kim hosted this dinner, and the likes of Joe Sullivan and Michael Brake, Matt Dunham, and sort of all my dad's generation of rowers, Brenda Lawson, you might know, Richard Newey. Don't know if those names ring any bells, but it was a really, really cool group. Sort of came to celebrate, I guess, what had our tour, and so that was all there for that.
Jules Ford, who's watching, hi Jules, is kind of asked about the post-race routine, which I think we kind of covered, Jules. I wonder if you've got anything to add to his question there.
Yeah, what's that? How you perform? Yeah, I think obviously we had a pretty good time gap between races. So I mean that's obviously going to help in itself. But I mean between all of those, from the quarterfinal to the final, I'd be going home and just getting some sleep in, an hour or two, just nap to sort of boost recovery, and just staying off my feet really. Trying to get as much fuel in as possible, although that was a bit tricky. The stomach wasn't really liking that, but yeah.
Now, you obviously got an amazing family, and there is this odyssey, maybe that's the right thing to call it, that your parents or your family's on around sailing around the world in their yacht, which you joined them on.
Yeah. So they've been living on the boat full time since 2018, I think.
Wow.
And so yeah, I mean, we got the boat in 2014, and the year after did a stint, sort of 6 or 7 months around the South Pacific, and then came back and did school, and then before they decided to go off again full time. And I was sort of on and off, sort of between do half a year at school and rowing, and then the other half on the boat, up until around COVID times, where it was the travel stuff got a bit trickier in the lockdowns. But yeah, they're now in Brazil, so they crossed the Atlantic a couple months ago.
Wow.
Yeah, so it's full on. It's they've got a YouTube channel called the Cruising Kiwis, which follows the trip. Mummy, that's all these videos, which she's self-taught editor, but it's full on. It's full-time job for her, but really sort of high quality stuff.
Yeah. And I actually, one thing I was going to ask you is, do you take after more your dad or more your mum, or a bit of both?
Yeah. I guess there's bits of both. I mean, yeah, dad's a little bit, I guess, rugged, you could say, maybe. I get a bit of flack for my bare feet, although I'm nowhere near as dad walks everywhere in bare feet, which is, I guess, sort of a Kiwi thing to do. But yeah, he takes it to the extreme, I think.
Oh, wow.
But yeah, I guess, you take things from both your parents.
Yeah. Now I know you like to do things off the yacht, and one of the things that I don't know what you remember or what you recall was when you went free diving off the yacht. What happened there?
Yeah, that was nasty. So that was shortly after that World Champs episode from Belgrade. So I already wasn't in great shape. And went to catch up with the family. They were in Thailand at the time, and we just kind of got into doing free diving, self-taught, but you go and drop anchor in a bay, and we just dive down to the anchor, and that's how we knew how deep we were going. And it sort of started off 5 meters, and then we'd anchor in 10 meters, and I think the deepest I'd got before that was about 23 meters, and I hadn't been on the boat for it must have been close to 2 years, 2 years free diving anyway. And anyway, one day we were out at this island, which was off the mainland by a fair distance, and my brothers and I had got in and just sort of started out as a bit of snorkeling sort of thing, and then we were diving down. It was pretty shallow, 10 meters, which, you know, fairly shallow for where we'd got to. And the boat sort of started drifting out a little deeper, sort of changing with the tide and the currents and stuff. And so it did start getting deeper and deeper, and we ended up putting a rope out the back with some weights on it, that sort of we could somewhat measure. And I think it was about 18 meters, the rope we had. And so at one point it was touching the bottom, and then it sort of drifted off and it was just floating. And my brother, well, we estimated, looking at the depth sound on the boat, it was about 30 meters we drifted out to. And I went down with my youngest brother Ivan, and I stopped maybe 3 or 4 meters from the bottom and watched him go and touch it. And I'm like, wow, that's the deepest any of us have ever gone. And so I was like, oh, well, I mean, I kind of hang around and watch them. I can surely go and do that too. And so I went up and had a little break. And my middle brother Declan decided he was going to go for one last dive too. And he was ready to go. I wasn't quite ready, which on hindsight was just like, man, so dumb. But I said, go on, I'll follow you. He goes. 10 seconds later, I'm off. And we both made it down, cross paths on, he's going up, I'm continuing down. And fortunately, I'll add, my dad, he had, I can't remember, he had some sort of infection on the back of his neck, and he wasn't meant to be swimming. But for some reason, he'd decided to get in, like, I don't know, we'd been in the water quite a while, a couple of hours, and he got in half an hour before this. And so he'd sort of come down halfway and watched us. Anyway, so I'm swimming back up, and I pass this hanging weight, and sort of look up at the surface. I'm like, man, that's a long way. I need to breathe. And that's sort of the last legit memory I have.
Oh, wow.
Because next minute I'm sort of waking up on the surface, surrounded by everyone. There's Mum beside me. I'm like, what's she doing here? She'd been inside editing. And I was sort of like, what's going on? What are you guys doing? And so what had happened, Declan got to the top. Dad had come up with him, saw he was all good, looked down and sees me sort of like starfish.
Wow.
6 or 7 meters down. And anyone who's got any experience with free diving will be like, what? Because it was really bad. Like in professional free diving, they have safety divers who kind of come down and meet you and then swim up. So if anything happens like that, straight away they grab you, swim you to the surface. And so Dad yells out like, Finn's gone, and dives down. None of us had any fins on, flippers. Dad did, fortunately. And so he got there first, and by that time Declan and Ivan had come down and grabbed on, and they pulled me up. And it was pretty full on for them. Declan jumped straight into action and started giving me the kiss of life. And I think I sort of started breathing within the 20 or 30 seconds from them getting me up, and then another 20 or 30 seconds till I sort of woke up. So it's pretty full on.
There's this message that you can read out from obviously people very close to you.
The cruising Kiwis. I told them not to watch, but there you go. Do you think your near-death experience 2 years ago has made you live every day to the fullest? I mean, I guess it does. I mean, it was pretty scary. Because on reflection, I was like, man, I could be dead right now. So I mean, I guess there is a subconscious element to that. And actually, it was funny because I mean, after this had all happened, we were all in the water and sort of ended up talking about it, just sitting at the back of the boat, sort of all feeling fine. And it was, it's actually quite, it's kind of like, oh man, haha, that was close. And it wasn't until I got out of the water and I started not feeling great, like sort of hard to breathe, and then started reading about secondary drowning and if you got water in the lungs and stuff. And that's actually where I got super scary, because I'm like, oh man, I'm breathing right now, but I could still die, sort of thing.
Oh shit.
So yeah, we weren't sure. I mean, Declan had closed my mouth and as we were swimming up, so that we were pretty sure there wasn't too much water, if there was any. But I ended up getting we had a boat. I think it was like they were Navy guys that came out, and we put out a call and taken them to hospital. And I was in hospital for a couple of days. It ended up being all good. I had got a little bit of pneumonia infection, so a little bit of water must have got in and caused that. But I had no lasting effects. So, but it was pretty scary.
Yeah. So actually, doing 2 races at Henley and going head to head against people who've won medals in the Olympic single sculls is kind of, relatively straightforward after that.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah. Well, it's it's funny because you still get so you can get so caught up in emotions and nerves and stuff, but at the end of the day, it is, you just got to think it's just a race. It's just another race.
Yeah. So I'm just thinking, when's the next time you're going to hook up with your family? Would it be after Shanghai, or what are your plans there?
Yeah, not entirely sure yet. That was actually they actually surprised me by coming and watching in Lucerne and then Henley. I hadn't.
What, your mum and dad were there?
Yeah. I actually.
Oh wow.
A friend of ours, Harry, who was one of the safety officers in Lucerne, he'd organised a rowing machine to be brought. Well, he actually brought it out to our hotel so that we could warm up back there, Ben and I. So I come out and open the van door to grab the Zerg, and there's Dad, Declan, and Ivan. So that was cool. But I've got a few other. I'm looking at going ahead of the Charles again this year. So that's about a month after Worlds, and then I'll hopefully still got a trial for the team, but hopefully be in the beach sprint team for Worlds, which is 3 weeks after head of the Charles, I think.
Yeah.
And then there might be 1 or 2 other things following that, but around that time, end of the year, would be cool to get on the boat if it's possible.
Yeah.
But we just kind of got to play it by ear, see what happens.
Now, I was going to ask you, because I know you wanted to make the Paris Olympics for lots of reasons, and I know one must have been your dad. Rob was an Olympian in Atlanta, but and you said there was a bit of a story, you and Matt Dunham, and I would have thought that was pretty much a good boat. You'd won, I think, the Premier doubles with Robbie Manson previous to that. So what happened with you and Matt?
Yeah, there's a lot there. But I mean, on paper, there's that result on the double, but I mean, I got silver at the under 23s in the lightweight single in 2023. And I think that year, Matt had raced the single at one of the World Cups, or maybe it was the year before, but I think he might have beaten Finton. But he was obviously one of the best lightweight single scullers in the sort of senior graded too. So you could kind of hypothesize, like, chuck those two together, they'd be pretty fast. And we did get to do a little bit of stuff together that year. So I made the elite team for the first time in 2023, and I had done really well in some seat racing. Like the first set we did, I came out on top. Toby Cunliffe Steele, another New Zealand lightweight, was involved. And so we'd done some seat racing, him and I and Chris Stockley and Matt. And yeah, the first one I every boat I was in I won. The second round we did, Matt won and I was second, I think. These weren't at weight. We're all probably around 74, maybe 75 kilos, I'd imagine. And before that, this was also before I was in the elite team. And for elite trials, we did a time trial. It was just Matt, and Chris, and Matt was kind of already confirmed that he was going to be in the double, and it was between Chris and I. And I think I ended up winning that trial by about 2 seconds. Again, it wasn't at weight, but we'd had to weigh in for a 2K erg a couple of days earlier. And so that's how I got in the team. And then I sort of, but it still wasn't confirmed like the double. It was just Matt. And the last confirmation was, well, it must have been a couple months after that. Unfortunately, I'd sort of always been like naturally lightweight and sort of, but once I got into the team with the increased training load and doing weights, I think I hadn't been doing a whole lot of weight training. But yeah, my body weight just shot up.
Wow.
Which was, and I kind of had never had any experience trying to manage weight. So that was a little bit of a roller coaster. I mean, I got up to about 80 kilos from like 74 when I entered the building, and had like close to 3 weeks to get down to like 70.
Oh, fuck.
Yeah, so it wasn't, and I mean, it wouldn't have changed anything in that regard, but I mean, I think the initial trial weight, we were like 72, or maybe it was 71 and a half. And then they decided, nah, it's 71. And then they're like, actually, no, we need you to race at actual race weight, which would be 70. And so I had this massive weight cut to do. And no one, I don't even think Matt thought I could get down. Like, everyone was like, okay, well, that's Finn done, sort of thing.
Yeah.
And it was pretty gnarly. But I made weight. And they kind of said, if you don't make weight, you're not going overseas, because someone was going to be the reserve single. And so all I was really thinking about was like, I've got to make weight, otherwise, but I did it, and we did our trial, and it was inconclusive who was faster. That was on a Thursday or Friday. And so my whole thing had been, I just got to get to this date, and then I can have some food. And so inconclusive, we're going to race you on Monday. And so I'm like, God, now I've got to make it through the weekend and race. And so we still had to weigh in. And so that really knocked me, again, the whole mental thing. And anyway, so we get to Monday, go and do it again. And we had one of the heavyweights at the time, Jack Reddy, was filling in, so we could do some direct seat racing. So I raced with Jack first, and we went really good for the first K. Like, we led Matt and Chris for most of it, and then the last 500 meters, it was just so hard. Like, I was, and they ended up going through us and beat us. But it was, I think in rowing with a heavyweight guy, although Jack did really well, but it was obviously different to being with someone who's the same weight as you. I think that really cooked me in that last bit. It was probably the worst I've ever felt after a race. I was like, it was unfortunate because I let that kind of show, and the people in charge and everyone sort of saw that, which wasn't probably great for my case. But anyway, hour and a half later, whatever it was, went out and raced with Matt, and sort of same actually to that race with Melvin. Mentally, I mean, I was like, man, I'm so tired. Like, how am I going to do this? But same thing. Race started, go off, Chris and Jack sort of took off, the same as Jack and I had, and got to the cave feeling like, oh, I'm actually all good.
Yeah.
And then Matt and I, and then it's like, okay, I can actually go now. Matt and I went and rode through them and somehow, but yeah, I think just not quite enough if I'd sort of just backed myself, but I was feeling terrible. Anyway, Chris ended up beating me by about a second.
Yeah.
So he was confirmed in the double. So that was that, and that was cool. Then I got to do 23s, and unfortunately then got sick.
Yeah.
So that,
how much of that was due to, you know, the effort to keep on weight?
well, it probably all played a part. I mean, when we went over for Lucerne, which was, I did World Cup 3, which was before 23s. I'd kind of got back. We'd had a 2 or 3 weeks following that last trial, which we did some, like, the biggest amount of training volume I'd ever done, and got through it. But then was really smashed, sort of getting on the plane, and I felt terrible in Lucerne. Like, I had the most heavy legs, so sore, and I think it was probably, you know, I think a little bit of overtraining and probably, you know, the underfueling part of it and all these other things. And I'd sort of been thinking I had a chance at winning 23s just based on looking at previous results and how I'd been going that season. And I was like, man, I'm not even going to be able to do that now, because I was feeling so awful. But yeah, fortunately, when I went to Bulgaria, I kind of just did my own thing somewhat and basically did nothing. I'd do a lap of the course each morning, and that was just sort of to recover, because I was still not feeling great, but managed to pull it out there and do pretty well. But then, yeah, I think it kind of all came, sort of everything added up, and I probably shouldn't have gone out with everyone, but, you know, go out after that race, and then kind of got sick that week going back into training, which was unfortunate. So I mean, fast forward to the end of that year, and, you know, because I ended up cooking myself at the World Champs, probably go over that, and I sort of had it in my head that, you know, if I've got to keep going, otherwise, you know, they're not going to look at me for the double next year, because I think that was still the goal. But in hindsight, I should have just gone, nah, like, this is going to screw me over. I need to stop and just rest and and I should have done that immediately after getting sick. I kind of managed to get back into training, and it kind of got better a little bit, but then it just got worse again, and then it kept getting worse and worse. Like, when we kind of were able to taper for World Champs, I just got worse and worse and worse. And it was so dumb looking back at it.
Do you have someone that can say to you, right, you need to take this time off now, you know, just for your own sort of health, or do you manage yourself? So, because it's the hardest thing for an athlete to stop doing something.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. I think there should be, more emphasis on that, and I'm sure there's some coaches or whoever that are really good at noticing those things. But in my case, in that instance, there wasn't. There wasn't really anyone who really caught onto it, and I mean, I didn't catch onto it either until it was too late. But I do sort of manage myself really well now, sort of after learning from all those mistakes. You know,
that's pretty cool.
So I mean, that was all. Again, coming on from that, it's was still trying to get myself fit and healthy. I came back and was selected in the summer squad, but I'd had, you know, that time off between worlds, which was, you know, about a month of not doing too much. That free diving accident, unfortunately, probably didn't help things, but anyway, came back, and I mean, this was the crazy thing. I did a week of training at, I mean, pretty low levels, but it was still really hard, and I don't think I even finished the week of the program. And then the next week the program was increased. I'm like, well, I didn't even get through that one, but okay. Again, didn't get through that next one, and then it was increased again. I'm like, oh shit, I'm not even able to do any of this. Like, what are we sort of doing? And then I ended up getting sick again, and so took some, and they did say, okay, well, you should probably take some time off, and so went and had a couple of weeks. Dad actually ended up, it coincided well with Dad had to come back to New Zealand for some work and stuff, and so I kind of just hang out with him for a little while, which was cool. And Rowing New Zealand, sort of, I'd had a couple meetings, and they were sort of indicating that, we're going to pre-select Matt and Chris. And I can't remember specifics of those conversations, but they were very, we're going to support you through obviously your tough time, and we've got your back, and all this sort of stuff. And that was cool. And I'd tried to say, well, hang on, you don't need to pre-select them. If I'm not here, it's obviously they're going to be pre-selected, sort of thing. And I can get back, then give me an opportunity then. And they said, we'll support you, get healthy, blah, blah, blah. 2 weeks after the last conversation of we'll get you through this, I got an email sort of, but I can't remember again what that said, but it was like, we'd like to meet with you to review your blah, 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 and your contract going forward, or something. Anyway, it's like, oh god, that sounds scary. And going, and basically got fired. They said, see you later, which was a bit of a blow. And basically, like, man, that's that done. I remember like walking out of, I was kind of fought that to as much as I could. It's like, but after an hour of doing that, walking out of the building with like tears in my eyes, and like, I was real upset, and obviously really quite angry as well. Sort of, well, I guess somewhat had gone, okay, well, that's done, but at the same time, no, I'm gonna keep the dream alive, I guess. And I was in a real bad way though, and I ended up having, that was the start of December, I got dropped, and I'd had sort of a month or two off even before that. And it was basically that I was getting dropped because you can't fulfill your contractual obligations or whatever. Like you're not training and whatever. So I did a whole bunch of stuff to get well. Again, back over at Kim and Gary's, and Kim, they're both great, helping me through that. And ended up getting to the point where I could start training around New Year's. So, start of 2024. At the same time, Chris Stockley ended up getting sick, as I was getting better. And again, I think he was given a couple of weeks to sort of see where you're at, but in pretty quick time, he was also fired. And so that was the end of the lightweight thing. So they kicked the lightweight double to the curb. And Matt was pretty furious at that. As you would be. But obviously, at that point, I was starting to sort of come back. And again, I was doing very little. I was just doing what I could to come back. And I think I had 6 weeks training before Nationals that year. And ended up getting second in the under 22 single. I never raced any of the guys in the team at that point. But, it's hard to compare times when you're in different races, but you can somewhat do it with similar conditions. And I was in the mix with all the sort of a heavyweight group who had been put together for the project quad that was going to the last chance regatta. And so sort of took the case back to Row New Zealand, and they'd at that point kind of shut down on the lightweight double, but showed them that, you know, you're seeing this quad, I'm just as fast as them on not much training. Can you look at this again? And we fought so hard, Matt and I, but it just got brick wall. It's like, yeah, it was so infuriating. I mean, it's it was terrible. I mean, again, it's hard to not be a little bit biased when it's, you know, you're the one who's fighting for it, but it was really bad, the way it was handled. Yeah, I guess I'm back in the building now, so I probably shouldn't go too crazy on them, but it was really, I don't know, it would have been, you know, if they'd sent us, I mean, we went to the point where we were like, if it's, you know, we will pay for this ourselves. All you've got to do is sign the paper, let us go. Like, we'll sort the rest. You know, we don't even need to train here. We'll do whatever we need to do. But just not about the money. I think they'd said, you know, there's no data to say that you're fast enough, but it's like, I'd been just as fast as Chris at arguably my worst. You know, I was in a terrible, you know, and there's so many things. But no, there's no data. And say, I mean, they tried. Well, they wanted Matt to row in this quad, but obviously, I mean, he wanted to be in the double. He thought that had a just as good a shot, if not better, of qualifying. And again, he was then relieved of duty because he didn't do that.
Wow.
So it's. Yeah, it was shocking. Like, it was really bad. So that took a while to sort of move on from. I ended up being in the under-23 team in the men's quad that year, which was really cool. It was a real cool group of guys. We didn't really end up hitting it at World Champs, but through that period, it was really. I don't know, looking back on it, was pretty kind of sad. Like, I remember the last chance regatta coming up, and obviously they'd sent the quad, and the women's pair went over, and they had a women's quad too. And that week, I remember sitting on it must have been foggy or something, and the whole team's in the erg room, and the last chance regatta must have been happening that weekend, and I was just thinking about it on the erg, and a song came on that sort of just, I don't know, and I just started sobbing, and head down. I was like, oh, I hope no one's looking at me, but I just could not. I was just like, oh, it was, yeah.
What was the song?
And then watch. Oh, I can't remember. It was what's that? And M18 or something. Outro, I think it's called. It wasn't like, and just like in the sort of chorus it, and it's just like, oh man, I don't know, it just, it was like for 5 minutes too. I was just like, couldn't control it. It wasn't cool. And the guys I was rowing with were really good about it. Like, we ended up kind of talking about things at a meeting together once, and I think it was kind of evident that I was, I guess, not stoked about things at the time, and so we kind of brought it up, like, okay, what's actually going on? I remember sort of trying to explain it and breaking down again, and I was like, oh no, but they were all really good about it, and it was cool that, I mean, still got to have a good time with those guys during that period. But
thank you for sharing that, Finn, because I know that's obviously been quite a significant part of your experience, and you know, it felt, as you were talking, it felt quite cathartic, actually.
I mean, it was such a, well, you mentioned Dad being, you know, that was a big part of it, like, because he'd rowed in the lightweight double. and to try and be in the same event, and
Oh yeah.
in the final year of it happening, so yeah, it was a big blow, I guess.
There's a couple of things I want to talk to you about briefly before we close. I meant to ask you what your 2K PB is.
Yeah, interesting. I was going to consult with Ben if he wants everyone knowing.
No, if you don't feel you want to, that's fine.
I'll tell you, it's not under 6 minutes, but it's under 6:10.
Okay,
somewhere in the mix.
Yeah. Thank you for that. And I was going to ask you about the head of the Charles as well. You obviously fancied doing it, like putting your hat in the ring, or did they ask you to come over? Well, how did that work?
That was a very sort of last minute thing. I was at the Coastal Worlds last year, and we're at dinner, and Emma Twigg was talking about how she was going over afterwards to go and race there, and I was like, oh, that's cool. And then I think I must have won the Coastal single at that point, and so she was like, oh, you'd be really good at it. You should look into it. Anyway, so she connected me with them, and I said sort of, hey, I'd like to come and race if I can, sort of thing. And they're like, yep, sweet, and sort of the entry, and that was that. So it was kind of off the back of that conversation with Emma.
And you managed the course all right. The looking round helps on that course, presumably.
Yeah, I was actually really fortunate. Emma also connected me with a guy, Dan Schley, who's a masters rower in America. I used his boat for the race, and he's very very passionate rower. He rows all around the world. He's come to New Zealand. He's rowed in more places in New Zealand than any Kiwi rower would have. He gave me all these things on the course, and got me to use a mirror.
They had a mirror. Oh, yeah, super.
Yeah. So he was real helpful. And certainly coached me up good for that race.
Oh, that's fantastic. So how far do you think ahead? I mean, are you someone that has plans stretching into the future, or thoughts, or are you an in the moment type of person?
A bit of both. I mean, I'm pretty I'm cool to do things off the spur of the moment sort of stuff, and then there's sort of general. I sort of had an idea of what this year would look like in advance in terms of what I was doing, but at the same time, if things pop up, I'm like, yep, I'll do that if it works, sort of thing.
Mm-hmm. So I'm thinking Los Angeles 2,000 meters, like, oh, that would be like Finn in a fast boat. That would be medal possibilities and that kind of stuff. And then I thought 1,500 meters, oh, that would be a different sort of challenge for him.
Yeah, that will be interesting. It's certainly not my forte, the shorter stuff. So yeah, I mean, I guess we've got to see. I mean, it's still a few years away, so who knows how I'm going to develop and whatever in that time. But yeah, as of right now, I'd say it's certainly not in my favor being a shorter race. But I mean, the thing is, it's all 2K up until then. So yeah. Which is the interesting thing, because then you got to switch at the last minute. But yeah.
So a couple of things just to close, Finn. What sense do you have of your best ever race? The race you could so far look on and say, yeah, that is up until now the best race that I've had.
I don't know. It's hard to pick, actually, because I've had so many like cool ones in the last sort of 12 months.
It's probably unfair, that question, I think.
I think that one against Ollie was pretty special, and I mean, I think I was doing it at Henley is pretty cool. and having so many so much of my family there watching and stuff.
Yeah.
And obviously, racing the Olympic champions and winning is very special. But there's so many. I mean, what Ben and I did in the double was very cool. The singles final at nationals this year, racing against Robbie Manson. Again, that was a very special race. To get my first national title in the single, which not a lot of people get to do.
Yeah.
That was very special. And then that head of the Charles race, again, sort of came from nowhere in that one as well, and that was epic. So, and there's so many more on top of that even.
I think on the road show, the guys from South Africa, Lawrence and Jake, and they asked people if there's a race that you find yourself watching, somebody else's race. Is there a particular race that stands out for you that you like to watch or you have liked to watch?
Actually, I certainly, still now, but through school, my favorite one to watch was definitely Joe and Nathan in London.
In London,
that doubles final.
Yeah.
That was I rode the double with a mate Seb Fulton, and always used to watch that before any of our races, just because it's such a cool race. So I'd probably have to be.
Oh, that's pretty
one.
Cool.
Well,
I think we're going on for a Crossy's Corner record, Finn. I think it's you or Eric Murray at the moment that we've been on, sort of certainly over the hour.
That's good company.
Yeah, no, it's fantastic. I mean, I think there's so much more we could talk about, but I'm gonna, I think, say it's been wonderful listening to you on so many levels. Just explaining what you've been through this year and last year and the year before. It's been fantastic. So we'll end the live part of this interview now, just to say best of luck for the Worlds. I will, if I get to commentate on your final, which I hope I do, I'll try and keep unbiased between you and the Serbians, because I've got a quite a friendship going with Nick Pimenov, but hopefully the best crew will win.
Yeah, thanks very much, Martin. It's very cool to catch up.
So then, tune into the next Crossy's Corner. Thanks for watching, and see you again. Bye now.
Cheers.